Don't make me get up. You're sitting back here. Huh? You sit outside. You're over there. I'll sit close to bed. I'll be the road between two boys. Right here in the middle. That's for the people. Look at the table right there. Big model. I do. Still chill with the shirt. Not like that. She's not like she's not ignored. Go outside then. Go outside.
Hello?
I like doing my second time thinking that way.
Like some word. Not me. Just find out. It wouldn't stand. I mean, that's those two are kernels. How about not? Trying to get to someone else.
You tell me, then we'll all know. I'll tell you tomorrow. This time, how's that?
I am such a creature of habit. Okay. Okay, we should do the red first.
I prefer green.
Great. Turn and lock the door.
Coming back, give it a
discussed with the screen, it said we need to do a couple of them. Yeah. Bryce is in love. Like, he wants to never watch TV again. Yeah. He's like, I just put it in the theater. All right.
At least this year. Senator comes to see you. Always up the stairs. Storm clouds, like just let it pop.
Yeah, it's not
Nice. Oh, I'm not going to say that.
Sorry. Thank you.
You don't believe it. It's not a promise. You gotta believe
I'm not either. I was thinking
I ain't good yet. You're the one that
Everybody will be happy to know that I'm using a written agenda. I'm relying on my computer. I need to use my microphone, even though there's not an awful lot of bodies in here recording this. Welcome everybody to the Northern Lebanon's committee meeting. Doesn't look like any new faces, so I think all of you know how the committee meeting works. See nods. Okay, we're going to start first with the management committee and go over the items that you have on the agenda.
Okay, management committee, start with item A.
Has she been off for an entire year already, or was it just a half a year? Refresh my memory.
Just since sometime in April. Not even a half a year.
Okay, it's probably just a working period and she's just looking to go
Yeah,
for.
yeah, about a month.
All right, thank you.
Anything else on item A? Item B.
And
This is the same amount as last year. It's pretty close, I know that.
No, it's $10,000 increase, it's the same program.
Anyone else would be go out and respond or anything like that?
This is a group that we had just changed to, so the break 2 years ago, so this was a group that we stayed with at this point.
$10,000 is quite salty. Do they offer a reason, or is that just they didn't realize what their expenses were and now they're passing it on?
We had a survey done, somewhat of a survey, and the 18 school districts that college those are using CPRs. After the meeting, I don't use CPRs.
Just yell. Use your playground voice.
Right, okay.
Thank you.
I use my voice when yelling at my kids. Now, there was a survey done, and of the 18 school districts that replied, the school districts that were using CPRS, the prices range from anywhere from $29,500, which was us this year, up to $70,000. And so we were at the lowest end, and it came time for renewal, so it's just natural the price was going to go up some. So it's brought it back up to where it falls right in line with most of the other districts. Most of them are in the $30,000, $40,000 range.
Okay, and it's utilizing the exact same services, we're not gaining anything with that 10,000, right?
I believe we are.
Okay.
And as a frequent user of, not me personally, but our family this year, they did a really excellent job. They had great customer service. Zach, who's assigned to our account, is always at the school, always at practices, always at events, and really, from the other parents that I've talked to, really liked him. And we're very lucky and fortunate to have him be assigned to our account.
I just have a question. Do we have an actual contract with them?
Yes.
And in the original contract, there's no stipulation for a cap on the increase?
No.
Maybe that's something we probably should look at the next time. I understand what you're saying about the survey, and it's not remand, but $10,000 increase is a hefty increase. I didn't see it.
I just interject here. Did you read the newspaper like 2 nights ago? It was one Hershey. One Hershey. It was a tricolour from Hershey. Not One Hershey. I'm sorry. Hershey never.
And which district does that?
I know.
Yeah.
If we hired that employee, they're probably looking at about $67,000.
I understand that.
We're doing due diligence when we say $10,000 increase.
I just think if somebody signs a contract, there probably ought to be a stipulation in there on how much of an increase we go for the next time, that's all. From what I'm hearing, this is a very reasonable fee for the services. I'm not saying that it's not, it's very steep. That's all. Item B. We will have a name in that position next week. H.
I just mentioned that I was kind of cruising over to see, make sure that what we were discussing. Was this the, this is the SALT plus half exception with the everything but the teacher, the music teacher, is that correct?
Does not include
The music teacher. And then we had talked about the idea that if the budget from the state does take place, that we will embrace that wholeheartedly. That's something we do not want to do. We just want to be cautious and not have to backtrack and do something we pay for.
they've just started to really examine the budget now in Harrisburg, so we have no idea yet where we are. And in our budget, we're assuming that we're getting zero. Excellent chance that we will get more money. If we do, we can apply at various places. I mean, we're expecting to get money. We already have some places that we do want to apply it. So it's just,
One of the things that you sent us to, I think it was from the morning call out of Allentown, was an article that they asked several school districts in the area. I guess the superintendents of the schools had to say that if you got extra money, what would you spend it on? How do we complete that?
Our basic answer was through personnel, replacing personnel that had been taken out previously. That was one of the areas that you could identify. I think there was
11 positions.
No, 11 different areas that you could categorize where you would spend money on. It isn't necessarily locking in, but ours was primarily personnel.
And so this was more of a survey of all the school districts versus this is what I will do if I get the money?
Correct. More of a survey because obviously the decision lays with you.
So is there a certain dollar amount that if we got extra from the state that the board would be comfortable in adding a music position?
is there a certain dollar amount? Are you saying, look, if they gave us 100,000 extra?
You know, or like 200, if we got, a music teacher costs $67,000 in change. So if we got 150, 200,000 to the quarter, you know, somewhere in that neighborhood, is there a certain dollar amount that the board would be comfortable spending $67,000 of that increase that we would agree to add?
You raise a good question. It's one that I am not going to sit here and give an answer to because I don't want to be held to anything. Do I think that'd be a good idea? Yeah. Am I hearing that if we receive a specific level, automatically that's what it's going to be dedicated to? I don't think I want to make that statement. Do I think it's a good idea? I don't know.
So how are you going to make, let's say hypothetically we get $250,000 extra from the state. How are you going to decide and when are you going to decide what you want to do with that money? So
Depends whether they tell me in July or depends whether they tell me in November. There's so many intangibles that are included in that question.
So what if the budget passed before August the 31st and we get $250,000? Where are we going to spend the extra money?
After I get done dancing on the street in front of my house, do I think that would be a good place to look at? Do I think it would be a good place to look at? Yes. Are you going to ask the entire board the same question?
I did ask the entire board that question.
And?
I'm not going to answer exactly probably, Dave, but what I would say is that I would like to see, we talked about this the other week, that the staffing is certainly a major issue that if we get funding. The other one though is, and I think we're all keenly aware of it, which is why H is the SAL plus a half, is looking at that ending fund balance. I think it's a combination of both of those, and I can't give you an exact number, but if the number feels comfortable that we're investing both in our children, or the staffing for our children, and also for the fiscal stability of the school district, then I think that would be a good, but I don't have an exact number tonight. That's where I kind of stand, that it would be a combination of those two merged together.
And the reason I asked the question is, there's been in previous years, maybe last year, that we're concerned that, the best teachers will get hired and will lose from the top of the pool. I realize if the budget's passed in November, which I don't see that happening, then it's probably late in the year to hire that music teacher for that year. But if the budget's passed somewhere in the month of July, I think it's reasonable to try to get a music teacher, if we get enough money to make everybody comfortable with the ending fund balance, to dip into that. That's kind of where I'm probing the question and trying to find out where everybody stands on the issue.
I think you made a very good statement, and I would support what you just said. But you're asking something that's very, very uncertain.
Well, I wasn't sure. I am, my vote was probably one of the votes that got this in front of us this evening, but after we had the meeting and different things that Matt said, I probably won't be voting for this next week. I would just vote for this all without the exception, without the half exception, just because I think our people have taken an incredible hit. And I agree with you, Matt. We need to give these taxpayers a break. And after talking to some after last month's meeting, I feel like I can't support what we have in front of us this evening.
Steve, if that's the case, which I welcome that. I mean, I obviously was in the minority last month. Yeah, months go fast in May. So, would we have to make some kind of a change, because that would be the vote. We would make it 5-4. Just speaking hypothetically here, if that is a 5-4 vote, and we need a budget in place, can we put together an item, well, H1 or whatever, that would say, so we would have that second alternative ready to go, that we're not
I think if
sitting
it
there
goes
voting.
down, you have to have a new motion with healthy
So we can do that night.
And why don't we get a little bit of an opinion going here? Some of us might have changed our minds since last month too, to even see if this is the motion that we actually want to be presenting for next week. Let me ask one more question before you start. If we don't do that half of the exceptions, tell us exactly what our budget looks like. Turn on your,
It's hard for me to say without seeing what it would look like, how it would look different without.
Well, I think Mr. Heckman is going to probably tell us pretty quickly.
thank you.
The only thing is I'm not necessarily really up on parliamentary procedure, but this is our committee meeting, and I believe that we could, I believe that we can take a vote to amend this tonight, so that what we want on the agenda next week is what we want to vote. We have a quorum here, and this is next week will just be the actual final vote. We have to have 5 votes, so we have to vote. I mean, I know I won't be here next week, but I can vote via phone.
Before Dan starts to talk, can I ask everybody to look at their attachment? If you, I'm one of those lucky ones, I already have it printed out, but, so that way we're looking at it. Amy, you're still over there stuck sharing. How's that feel?
What's that?
If we haven't done, it's in the
We have it up.
agenda package.
We're good.
Okay, now Dan, you want to direct us when we're actually looking at this?
If you're looking at your budget on the cover sheet, down in the lower right-hand corner, the last number there is the total for exceptions, $198,290. It's actually a few dollars less than that, but your ending fund balance would basically decrease by about $200,000, $198,000 change. So you'd be down to about $487,000
No exceptions.
with no exceptions.
You'd be down to 487?
487.
From
I didn't
685.
calculate the exact figure, but it's roughly
Right now it's 685, it's showing you're saying it's dropping 487.
somewhere in that vicinity.
I don't know if this is a question that is fair to ask, but I'll ask it. Can you help me see it from the other side, from the taxpayer's perspective? And I know it's all varying on there, but approximately, what are we talking difference between the half exceptions and the don't include?
Right now, if you pass this budget as it stands right right here, the average residential property, which is assessed value of $161,300, that property's taxes would increase by $68.52. If you eliminate the 1/2 exceptions, that same property tax increase would be $45.76. $45.76. And that means that your exceptions increase is $22.76 in this budget. You'd be saving the average residential taxpayer $22.76.
Per year.
If they're assessed at 161,000.
Right, right, sure, yeah.
Okay, now I'm gonna ask you a question, probably gonna, that would be the average assessment, right?
Average residential assessment.
If that's the average, it could mean that there's a lot low and just a couple high, or it could be a couple high. I guess I'm looking at, here you go.
The mean is what I told you. The mean is about that. But, I mean, you've got several thousands of residential properties. Probably 4,000 to 5,000 residential properties. So there's going to be a lot that are over that, and there's going to be a lot that are under that. The average is what's in the database.
And that includes businesses. So, one more question. So if Governor Wolf would be able to change the way that we are funding our tax, would that be this year? No, that would be in future years, 16, 17.
You're talking about the portion of the budget that deals with
Correct.
correcting or adjusting the real estate tax, that is the 16.7.
Okay. And I wanted everybody to be clear on that one. I thought that's the answer we're looking for. Don't work too hard, Paul, to do that. Thank you. Now we start getting stuffy.
It's not my fault, it's stuffy and hot.
Steve, knowing that, does that sway your thoughts? Does that change your thoughts in any way, or do you feel strongly?
Yeah, it probably doesn't. I mean, I could pay that, but I guess I really feel bad for so many older people that have talked to me, not just this year, but in the past, that are really struggling. And that's where my concern is. No, it's not a lot of money difference. It really isn't. But I'm just hoping the state will kick in and give us, more than what we expect, and we're going to be back up even above 685. So, yeah, it's not much. I know it's not much. I mean, we can swing it. It's just I feel bad for a lot of. I know a lot of widows that have no income. I was talking to somebody this week. $1,000 a month is all they have to pay their taxes, and that's where you feel bad.
$22 is right.
That's where you feel bad.
And there's a lot of other things that go up $22, so it's just not, real estate taxes is not the only expense you have in your life, there's a lot of food inflation. And
Price of eggs is going up?
the price of eggs are going up.
Not turkeys, but eggs, yes.
I think the other factor is I'm convinced that a lot of these, internet sites like Zillow, who a lot of people follow, really look at more the percentage of increase of your taxes going up. And if you read the paper this year and last year, we were the #1 percentage increase in the whole IU, that it would be nice to have one year where we aren't the leader, that we're in line with everybody else. The Annabelles, the Alcos, the Palmars of the world. So,
And not to announce the fact
We are still raising taxes.
Yes.
It's, the consideration is just not with the half exceptions beyond that. Thank you, Senator.
I mean, and I'll have to speak for the farmers too, besides the senior citizens, and it's not just senior citizens, it's not just farmers. We just underwent a reassessment, and there's some people that are struggling to still recover from that. So there's a lot of people we need to be looking out for.
I absolutely agree, and I think last month what was most important to me was the ending fund balance and maintaining the fact that we are increasing our credit score, and I think that's important over the long run. But I'm certainly willing to consider this as well, because I've heard the same things that you've been saying as well, Steve, that, you know, it doesn't seem like a lot. I think it's important for us to look at that other perspective, and I appreciate you have the numbers. But I can reconsider how I voted last month.
I think to go back to your question about the music teacher, if we were to change this to no exceptions, then I think your music teacher issue is null and void.
That's maybe got $1 million or something like that.
Right.
Which is his original budget, you know, which I don't think we'll get,
It
but.
lost 193 or something today or something.
But I can hope.
Yeah.
And that article that I had sent out to you that you referenced earlier, that was Lehigh County's, it was what, the morning call.
Yeah.
So they were specifically interviewing school districts from Lehigh County. And, you know, we're not that, we're all looking for the same stuff. When I was reading about some of the cuts that they made in Lehigh County, they made ours look small. I mean, I read that, and I thank the good Lord that I'm sitting here in Lebanon County, that I'm not there. It was a real eye-opener.
So under management, we're discussing item H. There's been some discussion to change this, hopefully for the final time, if we do that, to the SAW plus 0 exceptions.
I want to hear from Donnie.
I understand what everyone's saying, I really do, but I lived through the times when we didn't raise them, and we got ourselves in a real jam, and I don't want to be in that jam. I'm sorry, I just think we have to bite the bullet one more time, and if Wolf comes through with all this money, then next year we don't have to touch it, okay, and raise them, but I still think we have to go half. We still don't have a teacher's contract, and I don't know where you're gonna get that money, and that bothers me. And I don't like to be on the Titanic, and you know, that's, to me, I'm gonna stay with what I thought the first time. I think we should do the exceptions and half the song. That's how I feel.
I think that's an extremely valid point. The teacher contract is something
Anybody here we haven't heard from it? I'm sorry, I'm taking your thunder, Dan. Go ahead. Is there anybody here that would like to express an opinion yet?
I mean, I think everybody knows where I stand. I think the biggest thing was the reassessments, which, yeah, it wouldn't be so bad if I was only getting $60 a shot, but mine's double because of the reassessments. So instead of 60, I'm getting 120. And the reassessment, it killed me. And I can't be the only one, unfortunate situation. But, I mean, it compounds. I mean, last year we would have took 40, the full amount. So, I mean, you're looking at probably $180 to $200. So for the last 3-4 years, that's every year. Well, that adds up to a lot of money, plus the reassessment. I mean, my taxes probably jumped like 2,000 in the last 3-4 years. And that's a lot of money a month. That, you know, on top of all the other things going up. And even if we don't take these, we're still getting a tax increase. For me, it's probably $80 to $100 regardless. So, I mean, it's part of having a home. I realize that, but I think you got to look at not everybody lives in a home that's average 160,000. There were years we had no tax increase. I remember board members back then saying,
You can't keep doing this.
but we did it because we thought we'd be all right, but we got screwed a couple times.
So I
Totally understand what you mean.
But we are still raising taxes. That's the
We didn't
difference.
used to raise taxes.
I know. That's the difference, like, I would not support that.
I know
But
that.
we are still raising taxes. So,
And let me just ask one more time, bear with me. This is including this is $0 from Harrisburg, is that correct? Zero. If we received what we received last year, what would it look like?
I don't understand your question.
I'm not sure.
How much did we receive last
Increase
year?
did we get last year from the state?
How much did we get last year
Oh,
from
we
the
got
state?
the Ready to Learn grant. Was that about 413,000, I believe it was.
So I'm looking at if it were even funding from last year, we could expect to get 400,000. If.
Yeah, and using that assumption, that would be additional money as long as there were no restrictions to it.
But it's not specifically earmarked.
That's what's happened over the last
Mhm.
years. You could get the money, but you had to spend it in certain areas.
but if we get ending fund balance, you have to spend it.
Well, that's what I'm looking for, or is there somewhere else can be plopped into the budget that, not taking that monies away, that there's an outside chance, and, you know, here we are, we're gambling, that it could be 400,000. But we're rolling on the dice on this one. Because I got a lot of faith, but I don't want to be stupid. I didn't think that was funny.
Go home and get that.
Well, I think, we've had discussion, if someone wants, I guess what we should do, if this is a committee meeting, but if we want to change this for our vote next week, then I'm willing to entertain someone to make a motion, someone to second what they wish, and then we can have a straw vote to see if we want to change this, to put it on the agenda for next week.
I'll vote and not a motion.
Because we're not voting, just
Throw one out.
So we're going to just read what I think everybody wants. Okay, so we can have a straw vote, and what we will do is have a budget with the SAW with 0 exceptions. And with Mr. Heckman's numbers, this would raise the taxes on the average household $45.76. Is that right? As opposed to $68.50, which it would be at the exceptions. Do you all understand that? So, all those in favor of changing this to 0 exceptions, I guess just raise your hand. Okay.
I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna buy a lottery ticket and go to the casino, but, I think we're gonna get something, and I don't think it's,
So I guess we can just effectively gave you more work to do for this week to plug in new numbers, so we have them for the agenda for next week.
Have a lot of faith in our legislature, and
Okay, moving off of budget, I'll just take I and J together. We interviewed candidates last night. We will have names in those positions for next week.
And just at the conclusion of management, I'm looking at you guys, so don't talk to each other, look up here. I can't thank you enough. We are shuffling things around. We asked you if you'd like to take new positions or where you would like to see yourself, and I like the way it looks. I really do. And thank you for, we certainly weren't twisting any arms. Thank you for your willingness to look towards the future and think what you'd like to do and where you'd like to be, and I think it looks very good. So, thank you very much.
And that's for management.
Anybody have any other questions for Dan, the management committee, or something else they think needs to be on the agenda?
I would just like to say one thing to Mr. Heckman. I really want to thank you for the time that you put in helping us prepare for the solicitor interviews. Your notes were amazingly helpful and extremely detailed. And I really appreciated that because it took all that hard brain work that I really could focus on what I wanted to focus on when we were reviewing those massive documents. So I can't imagine the time you put into that, but it was well appreciated.
Well, thank you very much. Crazy as it sounds, I kind of enjoyed it.
And we did use it in the interviews. Like we read right from yours.
I have a good therapist that can help you.
Yeah, thanks. I'll see you after the meeting.
But it did, and I'll double up on what Amy and Rachel had said, or triple up. It was very, very helpful. The entire process, I think, was very, very helpful as a board, too. It promoted a lot of good intrinsic discussion going on here about what we should expect, we'll just let it go. That was very, very, very good. And thank you, board, for looking at it. It was very good discussion going on, and thank you again, Mr. Heckman. Anything else for management? Not programs.
Final adoption, any questions on item A? The textbook that I know we all took home and read from beginning to end. Questions on item B? I did look at it. Questions on tentative adoption, item C?
Other than are you trying to kill us people, really? We'll do our best, and then this is only the tentative adoption, so we do have a little bit of extra time to look at them, but that's quite a list.
And there were some additions that were uploaded today, so the family consumer science, so thank you for that.
And
I
so,
have not looked at it yet.
and I admit I have not either, and I'm going to be hard pushed to get a good look at these yet until Tuesday night, because we've got a pretty full agenda yet for this week.
Any questions on item D? What is it? The co-curricular activity payments?
Probably zip D and E in a new budget.
That's what I was thinking too. I didn't want to say that.
I just thought it was the bottom of all the curriculum.
Yeah, you gotta go all the way to the bottom. Programs D, E, and F.
And I admit I missed some because I didn't go through the curriculum and I didn't see it on the agenda. I apologize.
I didn't.
Yes. Music, drama, publications, student organizations, advisors.
Can you, middle school principal, do any of them go up or are all the fees the same?
We kept the same as last year, same cost as last year.
Okay.
For the middle school.
Sorry.
And then item F, the request.
on that. I thought it was that we weren't letting anybody use school vans.
Payment, it's the payment for the vans. In other words, they would have to pay for the vans and the,
Oh, so they
Travel.
wouldn't use our vans, but they're gonna pay.
right, then basically what we do is that if they go out and get a fee that's better than the fee that's what we normally charge for our vans, we'll accept the other fee if it's lower.
Okay, all right. I understand. Thank
So when it says there would be no cost to the district, there isn't, and we're just, we're not making money on this deal, we're just looking for,
Right, I
reimbursement.
understand. Okay.
Well, there are other reasons that it becomes an official school function. And then there's certain protections that are afforded by doing that.
That's all for programs.
Any more questions for the program committee or any additional things that need to be?
I just had, I guess we come into programs, for graduations tomorrow, and we've been having a lot of rain today, and maybe it's supposed to start clearing.
We're good.
He's watching
All-
the weather
all-
constantly, aren't you?
We're paying the grass, those are stuff. You know, can we kind of decided what's gonna happen, where it's occurring?
We'll be outside.
Yeah, we'll get some.
Okay.
Are you still on snow?
Having a prayer meeting.
Okay.
We're gonna close this.
They're calling for more rain possibly tomorrow, like
Yeah, no, it'll be out.
Okay. Everything will be good, it's still going outside, just.
We talked about that this morning, right?
Okay.
So should nobody wear high heels unless we want to aerate the field?
Hair toes, flats.
They all flats?
Yes.
And then it'll seep in to the.
Got it.
Yeah, I ruined a pair last year, so thanks for the heads up this year.
Okay. Just trying.
Looking forward to it. Green boots.
Thanks.
Now that's all for programs.
Anybody else have any comments for programs? Okay. Glenn, moving on to property and service.
Any discussion on item A? Any discussion on the building and use requests?
I did on number 2. Because they're hosting a playoff game, and they're requesting, it's not a part of their natural, or I should say their normal schedule. Are we going to hope that maybe we get a donation for it, or are we just, it is what it is?
Yes,
Yeah, we could,
Phil's here.
Who am I looking at? Okay.
Phil, sure.
we would be willing to give a donation.
Okay, and it's just because of the extra wear and tear, and I mean, obviously we all support the midgets, but since that was just a little bit extra, I just hope we might be able to recoup a little bit of some of the extra wear and tear.
Sure.
Good, thank you.
And we have guidelines for the donations.
Yeah. Guidelines in place.
Suggested. Any other questions for, or any other property and service things for Glenn, or Glenn, do you have anything else yourself?
Nothing more to add? Anyone else? Any questions? Property service?
All right. And now we're just double checking again. We have 3 board members that will not be here next week, correct? But we should be able to dial you in on a conference call to, for some of our votes, correct? Oh, sorry, hey, Paul.
Okay.
Apparently.
Okay.
And Nate's nodding too? Okay. All right, because it's, yeah, we have 3 directors. Hopefully it's not getting more than these 3 directors that will not be here in person next week. And I'm sorry, I should have announced that. We preceded this committee meeting by an executive session, a contractual? Yeah, contractual, I guess that's the proper word. We will now be adjourning into another executive session where we will be going over personnel. Okay. Thank you very, very much, everybody, for coming and attending.
I'm doing good.
You're not sure you're only
I have Sean Jersey.